To create question pools, go to the Control panel, click on Course Tools to expand, and then select Tests, Surveys, and Pools. Next, you want to go to Pools, and now you're ready to build a pool. So click on Build Pool, type in the name of the pool that you would like, and submit. And now start creating questions for that pool. So you can create many pools and then add several questions or many questions to each pool. So you would add a question, come back, grab another question to add to it, and so forth. So then once you have all your pools created, then you're ready to schedule your test. To do that, go back to your Test, Surveys, and Pools, and then click on Tests. Now you're ready to build a test. Type in the name of that test that you would like. Submit. And now under Reuse Question, create a random block. So I'm just going to select, let's say this was a pool that I had created, and I want to get all of the questions under that one particular pool. Now you can specify, maybe I only want multiple choice for that particular pool, or true, false. So that narrows the list. Once you have the pool selected, the question type, click on Submit. And so now you have your first random block, and let's say I want 4 questions out of that pool. I'm going to submit, and over here is the point value. I want each question to be worth 2 points each. Submit. So I have 4 questions randomly drawn from a 51 question pool, each worth 2 points for a total of 8 points. Now I'm ready to go back and grab another random block. So I'm going to go back to Reuse Question, create random block, and now I'm going to get the second pool that was created. And again, maybe I just want multiple choice or true, false. Once those questions have been selected, click on Submit. And now I have a second random block created. And again, I just want 4 questions. I'm going to submit. Point value is 2. All right, so again, I have a question pool of 57 questions. It's going to randomly draw any 4 worth 2 points each for 8. So just repeat the process until you have all of your random pools selected. Once you have them all selected, just click on OK. And now you're ready to schedule that test. Go to the location where you would like that test to be displayed. Click on Assessments and then select Test. I'm going to select Sample because that was the name of the test that I created. I'm going to submit. Now when I do that, your test options become visible. Do you have description that you would like to type in? For example, you might say this test covers chapters 1 through 4 and then 6 through 8. Chapter 5 was not included in this. Do you want to open it in a new window? Yes or no? Do you want to make it available to students? Yes. Do you want to add a new announcement? That's your call. Are you going to allow multiple attempts? If so, how many? If you say, let's say 2, how do you want that to be displayed? Do you want to grade the last attempt, the highest grade, the lowest grade, the first attempt, or average the 2? If you force completion, that means once the students launch this exam, they cannot save it and return later. Do you want to set a timer? If you do, how many minutes do you want to allow them to take a test? So let's say you're going to give them 2 hours, type in 120 minutes. Do you want it to auto-submit once that 120 minutes is up? If you do, click on. That way, when that time passes 120 minutes, it's automatically going to save and submit, and the student cannot move forward. Or if you say off, it will allow the student continue with that test, but it will not put the score in the grade center. You will have to go in and manually accept that late submission and then let it tally the score. Do you have display dates? Display after a specific date and then end on a specific date. So I'm going to go back up here. Do you remember at the very beginning, it said you want to make it available to the student? Say yes regardless of the date if you put in restriction dates, because it will not display until that date and time has come, and it will remain displayed until your end date and time selected. So again, if you mark yes, keep it, you want students to see this, they will not see it until the start date, and then they won't be able to see it after the end date. Do you want to put a password on this exam? Let's say they're going to go to the math lab to take it in a secure testing facility. You can put a password and send that password to the lab coordinator, math lab coordinator, so that way she can distribute that password as needed. Do you want to put a due date? Any due dates will appear on the calendar. If you say do not allow students to start the test if the due date is passed, check that box. Otherwise, if it's deselected, the student can still take that test, but again, in the grade center, it's going to come up and say that this was late and you have to accept that late submission. Do you want to include the test in the grade center calculations? Most people do, unless this is just for learning and it's a practice, then deselect it, so it's not going to be in the grade center. Feedback to student. Do you want them to be able to see their test when finished? If so, when? Do you want it after they submit the test, a one-time view, maybe after all attempts are graded? Then what do you want them to see? The score per question? Do you want them to see all answers, just the correct answers, or just what they submitted, which would be right or wrong? Do you have feedback in your test questions that you want to provide the students? So select the items that you want the student to see. Now keep in mind, if you say after submission and you allow everything, any student who has not taken the test, that student will be able, if they're friends with the other students who have completed it, can share all the test questions and answers. If you wait till after all attempts are graded, that way no sharing can take place. But if a student does not take that test, let's say they miss it, the others cannot see all of the feedback and correct answers, incorrect, and so forth. So carefully choose your options and think about what you would like students to see. Test presentation. Do you want questions all at once or one at a time? Do you want to prohibit backtracking, meaning if they answered a test question and move forward to the next one and maybe thought about it, they can't go back to change a previous answer? Do you want to randomize the questions? Even though you may have question pools for the test, you still might want to randomize the questions. Once you have all of the options set, then click on Submit, and that test will be visible to the students on that date and time selected, and you do not need to add that test to the grade center. As students take that exam, it will automatically populate. Thank you and good luck.